first in an absolute atrocious car wreck. Okay. So basically, what do? You go into the critical care unit. So that's what you do. Now, unfortunately, you are playing both patient and nurse. So what does that mean is that you're lying in the bed, you're lying in critical care. You can't move, your body's in shock, it's traumatized, you're devastated. But at the same token, you got to do triage. So, just like when we discover something's up in our relationships, we're like, we got to know, oh my God, what happened? How many times? Where? What? All this other stuff. And although that's relatively common and normal and natural and standard, really what the focus should be on, what are my basic survival needs? What do I need? Which is why a lot of times I give people like a needs assessment when they come to me. What do I need? Do I need whatever that is? Do I need to, have support systems of prayer? Do I need to have support systems of, people that deliver food because I want to be in the fetal position in bed, but my kids still need to eat? So, a needs assessment, whatever. Then after that critical care time, then you go into the emergency room. Now, the emergency room is the time where you're now trying to understand, okay, this is the accident I got into. This is the accident that happened to me. How do I navigate what I need to navigate so I can get out of this emergency room? So you're still in ICU. You're not in CCU, critical care, but now you're in ICU. So you're trying to just survive. And that's what and this is where the triggers really start coming in heavy. These are like, the beginning phases of post D-Day. These are where the triggers are coming in, and the triggers are like you're in the shower, you're doing dishes, you're cooking family food, and they bring you to your knees. You're talking to your kids and you see your kids' mouths moving, but you're not paying attention because you're thinking of what in the world, my world just ended as I knew it. Then after you get out of the emergency room, now you're put into a regular room at the hospital. This is a room where you're really doing a lot of thinking. Now, I'm talking, now we're about 6, 7, 8, 9 months to 18 months. I don't like timelines, but have it, for whatever reason. And now you're really thinking, what happened with this accident? How did I get it here? And you're still in a state of shock, but you can think. Like your amygdala is not controlling your existence. Now, your frontal logic is kicking in, whatever. And now you're deciding what's next. This is the regular room of the hospital. So you've been in critical care, you've been in ICU, now you're in the regular room. And you're really thinking, what do I do now? Am I going to repair, rebuild, stay? Am I going to leave this relationship? Am I going to, what are the next steps? Now we can start thinking a little bit more. The shock is allowing our brain to accept new information, new thoughts, as before our brain was just keeping a lot of that trauma out. So this is the stage where we're thinking a lot. Then when you get out of the hospital room, now you have to go to PT, physical therapy. And physical therapy is where you're just doing the work. And the work is, like I always say all the time, whether you're doing it on your own, you want to make sure you absolutely start talking to a professional. Like this messed me up like nobody would imagine. This messed me up. So your physical therapy after you leave the hospital would be, getting into therapy, would be doing workbooks, would be journaling. By the way, while you're in the hospital, that's a good time to start journaling too. Not CCU, not ICU. You can't move during those positions. Although if you can, great. Everybody's different. So now you're deciding, do I want to, so now you're out of the hospital room and you're doing physical therapy, that's your PT, and you're getting into counseling, you're getting into therapy, you're getting into coaching, you might do some seminars, some webinars, you're watching videos, you're reading books, you're endless podcasts. I mean, almost to the point where you're obsessed. And if you are rebuilding and repairing with your significant other, your spouse, your partner, they're going to probably ask you a few times, which is none of their business. When are you going to stop listening to A, B, and C? But whatever, that's a whole nother clip. Okay, then you're going to decide, is this relationship something I can even continue to do? That's the physical therapy part. Then, as with all physical therapy, at first, maybe you go 3 times a week. Then after a few weeks, a few months, you start going 2 times a week. Then after a few weeks to 2 months, you start going to once a week. Then after a few weeks, then you go twice a month, whatever. And then eventually you just stop. You're not in CCU anymore. You're not in ICU anymore. You're not in an emergency room or you're not in the hospital room anymore. You're not going to physical therapy anymore. Now you're just living life. However, you learn so many lessons on this journey that the chance of you ever being in an accident similar to the one you are is slim to none. Now, I'm not talking about people that are married or dating addicts who have addict behavior. That's a whole nother clip, and I'll maybe do another one on that. This is for people that have, discovered an affair, the affair stopped, still a bunch of crisis and emergencies and all this other stuff. However, both parties are now under, learning and educating and working together and doing a lot of these steps. And then you just start living. So the chance of you ever being in critical care again is really slim to none if both parties are doing the work. If you decided to repair and rebuild. Now, if the one person decides not to do the work, but you guys still are together, then there could be a chance of another, car accident. But if you're both doing the work, then studies and research shows that it's kind of slim to none, especially because D-Day is the big cocoon opener. It's like the sun to bacteria. Bacteria can't thrive and grow in the sun, and neither can like affairs. Once they're out and open, it's like, whoa, okay. It's the big, anyways, I digress. And then you just live, but you've learned so many lessons, not just lessons about who you were married to and who you were dating and who you're engaged to and who you're involved with, but so many lessons about yourself. Now your boundaries are different. Your beliefs are different. Your thought patterns are you are a completely different person. So anyways, I this was the analogy I gave this person. I figured, you know what, maybe some of you would be helpful to use this analogy, but I wonder what room you're in right now, or are you in PT, or are you home now chilling like a villain, making a killing like Bob Dylan? Let me know.